I've been in temporary accommodation for 2 years and have now got a flat. The landlord wants 4 weeks rent in advance, but I don't have enough to cover it. What can I do? This is a question another question we've got in come through the comments section. And essentially, I've actually done a little bit of research with this one because the answer is going to slightly depend on what area you're in. So I went on the Facebook group I run called Homelessness Best Practice, and essentially just asked the professionals in the group, what do you do in your area in this situation? And with one exception, everyone said, every council that they knew of, they used either discretionary housing payments or a spend to save fund or a prevention fund or whatever they want to call it to help people out in this situation. Now, often it would be done as a loan rather than as an outright payment, although some councils did appear to actually just give the money, which is very generous of them. But there was the one exception was where essentially the council wouldn't pay, or they didn't have a fund for it, and what they'd do is they'd lean on the social housing provider, the social landlord, to come up with some sort of arrangement to enable that to happen. Now, going back a step, one sense, lots of councils, when you move into temporary accommodation, will tell you in writing you need to save up X £100 so that when you do get somewhere, you're going to have the money to move in. Which is all very well, but in the real world, when you're living in temporary accommodation and you're eating food or eating healthily is very difficult because you don't have cooking facilities and so on. Often the heating system would be very inefficient. Often you're going to be travelling further because you're away from family and friends and school and work and stuff. So ultimately, in the real world, that's very rarely going to really be viable to do. Plus, you've got transport costs as well. I guess it's just kind of something to throw in there as well. So when I say transport, I mean transporting of property. So you're moving house effectively at least twice, if not many more times, depending on how inconvenient they made it for you. So basically, what you need to do in this situation, again, what can happen is that you are in temporary accommodation for 2 years and you get, you win a bid at some point and then you hear nothing at all, and then all of a sudden you've got 24 hours to move in, you've got the key, to get the keys. So you're in a bit of a panic because you've got to move house or arrange moving house within 24 hours, and you've now got to find £400, £500, £600 rent to actually move in. So the first thing you should do is basically email your housing officer and say, look, this is my situation. I'm in temporary accommodation. I cannot afford this amount of money. Can you help me out, please? Is there any way you can help me out? And as I say, in most cases, they'll have arrangements that you won't be the first person they've seen this with. They've probably seen it with hundreds of people before, but they will basically hopefully have a streamlined process, which means they'll get that money to you or get the money to the landlord. As I say, it might be as a loan, so you might have to pay it back over the course of a couple of years or something, depending on what the situation is. But ultimately, that just bear in mind that the council want you out of their temporary accommodation probably just as much as you do, because they want it back, they want to give it to the next people, so they are motivated at that point to help you out. And at that point, I guess, just to kind of throw in there, I mentioned that kind of the duty to protect property. If you have no other arrangements, if you have no money, you've got no way of doing it, and you're having to transport a whole bunch of your furniture and property and stuff from your temporary accommodation to your new home, then the council have a duty to step in at that point. As I say, I've done a separate video on protection of property. It's only if you have no other arrangements in place, but that's something just to kind of bear in mind. And again, what they can often do is they'll hire a man with a van and you'll have to pay them back at some point in the future, but that in many cases that's going to be better off than losing all your stuff. So yeah, hopefully that helps. I'm not going to say much more about that, I don't think. As always, if you got this far in the video, please like and subscribe to the channel. It's really helpful. And if you're feeling brave, just share the video on other social media platforms because it just helps get the message out there.